Welcome to Psych with Sigmund, the podcast where we explore the fascinating world of psychology and its relevance to our everyday lives. I'm your host, Sigmund, and today we're going to delve into a fundamental concept in psychology, encoding specificity principle. Encoding specificity principle refers to the idea that the context in which we learn or experience something plays a significant role in how well we remember it later on. This concept is crucial in understanding human memory and its relationship with our environment. The principle suggests that when we encounter information, our brains create associations between the information itself and the context in which we encountered it. These contextual cues can be anything from the physical location where we learned something to the emotional state we were in at the time. The theoretical background of encoding specificity principle is rooted in various psychological theories, including the concept of episodic memory proposed by Tulving. Episodic memory refers to our ability to recall specific events or experiences from our past, and it's closely tied to the idea that memories are context-dependent. Another key theory related to encoding specificity principle is the transfer appropriate processing framework, which suggests that the more similar the conditions are between when we learn something and when we try to recall it, the better our memory will be. One of the pioneers in the study of encoding specificity was psychologist Tulving, who conducted seminal research on human memory. His work laid the foundation for understanding how context influences memory retrieval. Other researchers have built upon Tulving's findings, exploring the neural mechanisms underlying encoding specificity and its implications for learning and memory. Research has consistently shown that contextual cues can significantly enhance memory performance. For example, a study by Godden and Baddeley in 1975 found that scuba divers who learned a list of words underwater were better at recalling those words when they were back underwater, compared to when they tried to recall them on land. This demonstrates the powerful effect of context on memory. More recent studies have used neuroimaging techniques like fMRI to investigate the neural basis of encoding specificity. Research by Rugg and colleagues in 2012 found that when participants were shown words in the same context in which they had previously learned them, their brain activity patterns were highly similar to those during the initial learning phase. This suggests that the brain is reactivating the same neural pathways it used during learning, which helps explain why contextual cues can be so effective for memory retrieval. So, what does this mean for our everyday lives? Understanding encoding specificity principle can help us become more effective learners and improve our memory. For instance, if you're trying to learn a new skill or subject, try to create a consistent learning environment, like a dedicated study space, to help your brain associate that context with the information. Additionally, therapists have used this concept to develop treatments for conditions like post-traumatic stress disorder, where patients may benefit from learning coping skills in a safe and controlled environment that can later be generalized to real-world situations. Another practical application of encoding specificity principle is in education. Teachers can use retrieval cues, such as images or artifacts related to the material being taught, to help students associate the context with the information. This can lead to better retention and recall of what's been learned. In conclusion, the encoding specificity principle is a fundamental concept in psychology that highlights the critical role of context in learning and memory. By recognizing how our brains encode and retrieve information based on contextual cues, we can develop more effective strategies for learning and improving our memory. As we navigate our daily lives, it's essential to appreciate the dynamic interplay between our memories, emotions, and environment. As we wrap up today's episode, I want to leave you with a thought-provoking insight. Encoding specificity principle reminds us that our memories are not static entities, but are deeply intertwined with the contexts in which they were formed. By acknowledging this, we can tap into the power of our brains to learn, remember, and grow in more effective ways. That's all for today's Psych with Sigmund. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, may your ego find balance between pleasure and reality.